concept of rural development in India. So we focus on a holistic approach. 70% of India's population reside in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, and we have been moving globally with lots of advancements, be it the sensor technology, the augmented technology, AI, robotics, 3D printing, and so on. So our idea is to focus on development and innovation. For this holistic development of rural region, what are the basic parameters that we can incorporate? So first is to deliver quality education, and that has been made possible through the new education policy, which we have covered in detail in a separate lectures. Then we do have Atal Tinkering Labs, the ATL concept, which has been released by Niti Aayog, through which children are exposed to emerging toolkits for various electronic devices, sensors, robotics, and so on. And with this, they help to understand and develop a vision about computational thinking, physical thinking, and abstract thinking concepts. So youth can be definitely a change driver for the next generation of developments by creating awareness about sustainable development goals, innovations in various concepts. And there can be a rural community youth fellowship program that has been beneficial to the rural areas, where support has been coming from a PPP model, that is a public-private partnership model, and there has been various cases where on-job training has been given. Now, India, predominantly an agrarian rural region, needs a digital push. There has been various developments that we have seen in case of eNAM, which is an electronic national agricultural market, where the middlemen have been significantly reduced. Similarly, we do have features which deal with FPOs, the farmer producer organization, providing opportunity for farmers to have value addition network. Besides that, we are also focusing on safer and hygienic rural regions. So Swachh Bharat mission has been one of the major drivers through which infrastructure for solid and liquid waste management has been developed. Also, drinking water and sanitation has been developed. There has been iconic unity through Mile Sur Mera Tumhara. Rural sanitation coverage has significantly increased in the last 5 years, and India is closer to realizing its goal for a open defecation free India. Now, this has come true with leadership, public financing partnerships, and people's participation. So what are the checklists that has been given by the government for a ODF plus village? Now, ODF plus village is a sustainable village that sustains its ODF status, ensures that there is solid and liquid management, waste management that has been done, and the public places are clean. There are at least 80% households that have been arranged for biodegradable solid and waste management. We visually see a cleaner village, and under this there has been construction of the basic amenities. The Govardhan scheme has been released for galvanizing organic bioagro resources. Plastic management and fecal sludge management has taken into account. Also, under this we are focusing on 3R concept, and this 3R focuses on reduce, reuse, and recycle the waste generation at the source itself. Also bring in better technologies, maximum economic efficiencies, and a sustainable model that could work for longer time. So Gram Panchayats, people participation, district level governance has been very important in bringing a implementation plan at a project and a national level. Also, we have information, education, and communication that is there, which requires a behavior change program to motivate the people. And the first phase of the Swachh Bharat mission was dedicated to a behavioral change among the people itself, and later on it focused on creating workshops, training sessions, seminars, awareness programs that could actually strengthen and develop awareness. Now the stakeholders develop from the village to block and district level, and similarly we have various concepts which includes door-to-door visits, construction of pits, plumbing, and masonry works. So Swachhagaris have been working significantly. There have been institutional arrangements. Roles of the Panchayati Raj institutions have been very important, and the idea to bring in financial planning and program funding has been very important. Now, there have been various components related to it, and the financial assistance for each of the component is given. Now, this is important. There could be a direct section that could be asked in this. The next is how Research and monitoring has been independently working for it. When it comes to education, we have covered all of these schemes separately. So Samagra Shiksha scheme talks about subsuming three schemes, which is the Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan, Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan, and Teachers Education. So these three schemes would be considered and merged into the section on the Samragya Bharat, the Samrak Shiksha Abhiyan. Then we do have the schemes which focus on Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalaya, which is to bring the talented mass from the rural centers for better education, free education. Eklavya residential schools for students from scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. Midday meal scheme for reducing the number of dropouts, increasing the level of nutrition among students. Targeted intervention for girls, Balika hostels to be created, Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalayas to be created, Beti Bachao Beti Padhao Abhiyan in the same scheme, and Mahila Shakti Kendra, which is women empowerment. Similarly, we are also focusing on schemes like Sakshar Bharat, Padhna Likhna Abhiyan, skill training, vocational training. Shreyas program is an apprenticeship development and skill development program which we have covered separately. Similarly, apprenticeship training scheme, which is for those who have joined the bachelor's program or the studies, and along with that they are trying to get practical hands-on techniques. And then we have skill development through the Kaushal Vikas Yojana. So those are some of the schemes that we have discussed in detail. Those would be available in the handouts as well. And now moving on to the next is the recent developments in the farming section. So we have three of the bills that have been released. The first is the Farmer Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Bill that provides freedom to sell the farm produce in any part of the country, not just the APMCs or the agriculture mandis. Now this would have freedom of choice, multiple options to sell, better price that a farmer can get, and reducing the intermediaries, which would be beneficial for the farmers. The next bill that has come up is the Farmers Agreement on Price Assurance and Farm Services. Now this is when you have a farmer and a contractor or a contract farming that is working, and this bill would basically have a bonding that if they promise, they would have to procure from the farmers as per the contract. So the contract is totally in favor of the farmers, not in the favor of the cooperatives or the basically the multinationals that are coming. Okay, a good case study is the Moga district of Punjab, where Nestle plant has been working, and this has an association with more than 1 lakh farmers. There has been technical guidance and vaccination programs that have been working for the same. Then next is Essential Commodity Act. This has been modified for the agriculture and food related stuff, which includes cereals, oils, edible oils, and they can be brought under the essential commodities in extraordinary situations, if there is a war, if there is a famine, if there is extraordinary price rise or a natural calamity that has hit the region. And the gap between the required and the existing infrastructure needs to be met in terms of the packing houses, the ripening chambers, and the vehicles that are available for carrying this stuff. So farmers' concern has been rising mainly with the contract farming. Now contract farming, there is a concept that this would lead to rising inequalities between the farmers, and only few of the large farm owners would get benefit out of it. However, we have states like Kerala which already do not have the MSP model and have been successfully working with their crops like spices, coffee, tea, and so on. Now Panchayati Raj system, which is the PRI system as we say, got a constitutional status in 1992, and it is one of the leading pillars for local self-government. There has been various developments that have been seen post-independent. We have various committees. For example, Balwant Rai Mehta committee talked about democratic decentralization and introducing a 3-tier system at village, block, and district level. Then we had the Ashok Mehta committee in 1977, which talked about strengthening the position of the declining role of Panchayati Raj systems, a 2-tier system, a regular audit, and regular elections to be brought about. G.V.K. Rao committee which strengthened the PRIs further and brought the constitutional status for the first time for PRIs or the Panchayati Raj institutions to ensure free fair elections in Panchayati Raj. 73rd Constitutional Amendment 92 was brought into force by the then Prime Minister Narasimha Rao, and it was into action in 1993. There have been major amendments to the Part 9 of the Constitution which was added later, and Article 243G which empowered the Gram Panchayats to a great detail, and there were a list of subjects that were added as part of the local planning and implementation. Gram Sabhas were organized. The minimum age to contest the election was 21 years, and there has been a tenure of 5 years with a fresh election to be held within a period of 6 months. Creation of State Finance Commission in each state every 5 years has been taken into account. Similarly, for the local people, Manrega scheme, that is the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, which was initially launched in 2006, was implemented, and this provided 100 days of guaranteed employment to the people, and 50% of the work must be executed by the Panchayati Raj systems itself. Also, we are now talking about Jal Jeevan Mission, which is providing all the rural households with tapped water supply by 2024, which is a commendable development, and this would also provide assistance to the below poverty line families. Similarly, we have Rashtriya Gram Swaraj Abhiyan, which has been implemented to deliver sustainable development goals and with a thrust of Mission Antodaya. There has been a 3-tier system that has been working, which is the Gram Panchayat, the Panchayat Samiti, and the Zilla Panchayat or the Panchayat at the district level. Now, the intermediate tier is given in the exemption to that has been given in the smaller states where the population is less than 20 lakh, and there has been various activities related to agriculture, education, health, sanitation, drinking water, that is part of the Panchayat functions and implementation within the budgets of the Panchayati Raj system. Now, there are either obligatory functions or elective functions. The obligatory functions include maintenance of sanitation, drinking water, roads, infrastructure, electricity, health and primary education. Panchayat Samitis are those which work at the middle level. So, after the Gram Panchayat, we have Panchayat Samiti, and after the Panchayat Samiti, we have Zilla Parishad. So, this Panchayat Samiti provides a link between Gram Panchayat and the Zilla Parishad, which is at the district level. So, there are various developmental activities taking place, and the Sarpanch of the Gram Panchayats are ex officio members of the Panchayati Raj system. Zilla Parishad is also known as District Panchayat. It's the uppermost level. It has directly elected members, and you have members from Parliament, Legislative Assembly and councils that are part of the Zilla Parishad. Now, the funds have been developed which go for various activities. There have been 3 important concepts, which is the funds, functions and functionaries. Also, the support for the constitutional setup has to be given, and the criteria for the legislation of the 73rd Constitutional Amendment has been very important. Now, the next is E-Gram Swaraj portal. This focuses on the Swamitva scheme. Swamitva scheme we have covered separately, which talks about real-time monitoring and accountability of the land parcel, and this has to be executed by the Gram Panchayat Development Authority itself. For the livestock, we are talking about building the livestock, agriculture, doubling the farmers' income, and agriculture along with livestock contributes to 29% of the output of the total output of agriculture. So, livestock is definitely one of the important segments. 20th livestock census is one of the largest census that was conducted worldwide, and India owns nearly 512 million livestock. We have covered a separate lecture on 20th livestock, the highlight of the 20th livestock census, very important, covered those separately. Now, the population of certain species has been increasing. Camel population has been declining tremendously. So, the focus areas and the reasons we have discussed in detail there. The major challenges is the chronic food shortage, changing weather patterns, changing food habits, genetic engineering, low price with the feed that is being associated, and higher cost of maintenance. poor market and limited insurance, with pandemics like bird flu spreading among most of the poultry birds as of now. So there are numerous challenges to the livestock section as well, and animal husbandry needs to have a definite change in the way it functions. So diagnosis, proper system for establishment of, let's say, biogas units for commercial purpose, integration of animal husbandry with fisheries, creating possibilities of genetic developments, genetic breeding, artificial insemination, execution of livestock related species, attraction of rural youth to the activities related to farm and developments in the rural areas is important. Over the years, we have seen a rising trend with milk production. We have seen a similar trend with egg production as well, and with meat production as well. So definitely there has been a significant growth. Also, when it comes to the rural area, we are now focusing on developing a better healthcare system with sub-centers, primary healthcare centers and community centers working together. As of 2005 to 2019, we have seen around 7% increase in sub-centers, 7% increase in PHCs and 59% increase in community healthcare centers. There are few states where PHCs do not have doctor. For example, Chhattisgarh, there is no technicians in Rajasthan, lack of pharmacists in Uttar Pradesh. So all those are the issues that we are actually focusing on when it comes to the healthcare system. ASHA activists or the accredited social healthcare activists are working at the grassroots level, moving from household to household, training local people, bringing in awareness, and the required positions of the ASHA workers are highest in the states like Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh and Bihar, one of the regions where you have the highest population density, we would say. Then we have related schemes like Janni Suraksha to bring in all kind of expenses which are under the head of the household to the government, where out of the pocket expenditures would be reduced for the mother and the infants, and this is basically a cash incentive program providing focus on all the BPL SC/ST families, where cash incentive has been given from 1400 rupees and there can be 700 rupees of cash incentive. Pradhan Mantri Surakshit Matritva Abhiyan focuses on antenatal care to all the women on 9th of every month till their final due. And then you also have special new care born centers, Rashtriya Kishore Swasthya Karyakram, which is between the age group of 10 to 19 years for better healthcare facilities and nutritional development. Supply of folic acid and iron capsules have been part of it. Rashtriya Bal Swasthya Karyakram is under the age of 18 years for 4 birth deficiency diseases. Now these are defects at birth, diseases, deficiencies and developmental delays or disabilities. So the idea is to bring in better management, better training involving parents, bringing in more development. And for the rural area, when we say, there has been a whole lot of activities that has been working, which works on let's say water supply, waste management, commercial infrastructure, development of communication networks, education, healthcare. So you have the Gramin Sadak scheme, where rural road areas have been developed, 100% centrally sponsored scheme for rural areas. It has been applicable in various phases. The phase 1 covered all the unconnected habitats with a population of 500 people. Later on, this was upgraded to the existing rural areas and the rural roads, and later on linking with the agriculture and the rural markets through the Grams scheme was made possible. So there has been a significant development in this sector. Similarly, in the field of energy, Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gram Jyoti Yojana has been important, which provides separately support to the agriculture and non-agriculture feeders and rural connectivity, LPG cylinders to the poor household through the Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, which provides LPG cylinders to nearly 5 crore to 8 crore free connections to the people. And also we have cash assistance that is being provided for releasing deposit free LPG connections that are there. Sahaj Bijli Har Ghar Yojana talks about final electricity to all households through the Saubhagya scheme, and last mile connectivity is the major idea. PM Kusum Yojana talks about Urja Data or the Annadata, changing into Urja Data, where farmers can have their own energy being produced through the Kusum scheme, and the additional energy that is being produced could be sold off to the discoms, and this could bring in additional revenue to the farmers. Similarly, bringing in household has been one of the major ideas through the PM Awas Yojana. Under Housing for All by 2022, we are also focusing on Jal Hi Jeevan Hai, Water is Life, under the comprehensive mission for 100 water-stressed districts of the world. It aims to provide safe drinking water to each household under the Jal Jeevan mission. Swachh Bharat Mission Grameen has been working significantly. We are also focusing on sewerage collection and treatment, disposal of sewerage, and then the largest broadband optic network in India through the BharatNet. This would connect nearly 2.5 lakh gram panchayats. In the phase 1, the target is to connect 1 lakh gram panchayats. In phase 2, there is a target for another 1.3 lakh gram panchayats to be connected through the BSNL network, and this would have a fiber optic networking and bring in a thrust to agriculture, education and healthcare through digital means, and connecting the rural population with internet facilities. So those were some of the highlights that we have discussed in this edition. We would be covering many more topics in the upcoming lectures and Yojana and Kurukshetra summary every fortnightly. Stay tuned. Have a wonderful day.